All right, hello and welcome to Let's Chill, the official, unofficial Minnesota Windchill, Minnesota Strike podcast. I'm Jeff,
I'm Jay.
I'm Kane.
and with us today we have Mattis, but we have Keely Mattis, Brandon Mattis's wife. Keely, welcome on.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, this is kind of a funny situation because we have been talking about Brandon all the time on the podcast, always like, oh, we got to get him on, or we'll always tweet at him everything, and so it's really funny to have you on before we actually have
Right?
Brandon. This is awesome.
Good.
So usually we start these with like a stall seven, like a trivia question. Tonight we're gonna kind of mix that up and do a bunch of Brandon Mattis trivia questions. So it's all gonna be directed at you. How well do you know Brandon?
All right. We'll see how I do.
All right. Let me kick it off. It'll be a really easy one.
Okay.
What number does he wear and why?
He wears 61 now because we went to college in Winona. He grew up in Winona for a little bit, and Winona is on Highway 61.
Bingo. Easy as that. All right, Jay.
All right. So, what team did Brandon score his first goal against?
Oh gosh. Probably I'm gonna say Madison, but I don't believe that I know actually that answer.
No, it was the Detroit Mechanics.
Huh? No
Mhm.
idea.
All right, so not including last night's game,
Yep.
how many career blocks does he have?
Oh gosh. No idea. I feel like I should know this as a wife. Gosh, no idea. I'm not even gonna guess because I'm gonna say something totally wrong and he's gonna make fun of me forever for it.
90.
Okay, that's more than I would have guessed.
Yeah, the road to 100.
Yes, that's fair.
And I don't actually know if he got any blocks last night, so I think that's still accurate. So
I agree. I think so.
okay. So Brandon played in his 100th game last year. What team did he play that game against?
Oh my gosh. I also feel like I should know that, but it was such a huge day that I didn't even honestly watch the game. Like his mom and I were all just focused on all the things we were going to do for the 100th game. Couldn't even tell you, honestly, only because I probably watched 0 minutes of that entire game. There's so many people that came to the game that have never been to a game before, our friends, family, whatnot, that it was mostly hosting them, explaining the game to them, all of the above.
That makes a lot of sense. It was also Detroit Mechanics.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
There.
When I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, again, because that was a pretty big game just for the wind chill. I think it was the last game of the season.
I think so.
And I was like, oh yeah, I suppose they wrapped up with Mechanics, but
Yep, that makes sense. Yeah, I honestly probably didn't watch 1 minute of that game. Normally I watch the entire game, but that was such a weird side thing that his mom and I worked so hard on all these extras that couldn't even tell you score, nothing. Don't even know how the game went. I assume we won, but that's all I got from there.
Yep.
I remember we had the full Brandon Mattis face on a stick and everything. We went all out for that one.
All out, yep.
Who is Brandon's best friend on another team, or like his favorite opponent to play against?
Oh, he loves playing against Cam Brock. I would say that's probably one of his biggest friends. Although Biz, who plays for Madison, also would be another one, I would say.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we had Cam Brock for that.
Yeah. Nice.
Okay, so we know Brandon Mattis is very particular about his chili recipe.
Yeah, he is very.
He once shared an anecdote about almost replacing the cumin with a different spice.
Cool.
What spice did he almost put in the chili?
Oh my gosh, I remember this. It was something weird too, and he was so mad about it. So it was something was like parsley or something that kind of made sense but didn't. But I don't remember. He hasn't even made that in such a long time. Huh. I don't know.
Cinnamon.
That would have been terrible.
Right?
That's funny. I feel like we all said like that wouldn't be too bad. Like I guess we have to taste it first, but
right.
Thought about it more. Brown sugar would be good, but not cinnamon.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, that's why I'm not a cook, I guess. But
I'm not honestly, I'm not either. He's the cook in the household. I do not Cook anything. Enjoy it.
Brandon, if you're listening, man, we'd love to have you make us chili sometime.
He loves to cook, and I can't eat tomatoes anymore, like later in life. So he loves making spaghetti sauce, chili, all that, and he never does anymore because I can't eat it. So he would love to make it for other people that could enjoy it.
That sounds wonderful. Okay, this one's kind of going back to a previous question. And honestly, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know the answer to this. I'm very curious to hear yours.
Okay.
Who is his least favorite player or team to play against?
I could probably name a couple players, but I'm not going to because I don't want to get him in trouble. Teams, I would say probably Madison just because of the rivalry. It's always been a rivalry. Chicago also just because of the past few years with playoffs, but I think overall Madison, I would say either least favorite or most favorite. Could go either way. But it's always been a long standing thing that he's always super excited to play them. So
interesting. Well, okay, that's a perfect segue into our first like main question. What did you think of the game last night, and like how has that rivalry developed over time? Like I feel like last night was like a really intense game, but in recent years it hasn't been super competitive, but I know a while ago it has been. So like tell us about that rivalry from like your perspective and kind of hearing from what Brandon has said.
yeah, it's been so fun. I mean, Madison was a really, really good team for a while, right? We've seen them at their own championship game in Madison before. They've been a good team in the past. They're really fun to watch. Every game is always close. One of the best memories I have is the first time they Winchell beat them at Bree Stevens was one of the coolest memories because it was like they just kept losing, could not win in Madison, finally beat them in Madison. I've gone to every single Madison game. I go to every single one. And when they finally beat them was like very exciting. So now it continues to be, I mean, he told all of our friends yesterday that we're coming. It's going to be close no matter what. It's always close against Madison. So we always hope to pull it off. And luckily we did last night, but you never know with them.
Yeah, last night in particular was like my heart was racing from opening poll pretty much.
Yeah.
Was it like weirdly like chirpy, I guess? Like, and again, we don't have to get like super specific,
right.
But it felt like more chirpy than normal last night.
I agree. That definitely, I mean, maybe for Madison, I feel like it actually is pretty common like that, but it did feel, yes, I agree. Last night it was kind of weird. There was a couple of his coworkers that had never been to a game and they were like, is this normal? And I was like, not really, no. So I agree. More than normal, for sure.
Interesting.
Right. So you said you go to Madison at the very least, but do you often go to other away games, or like what percentage of the away games do you go to?
I always go to Madison, but my college roommate, one of our best friends, lives in Madison. So it's always worked out. We stay with her. We don't see her very often, but we know we're going to see her every time we have a Madison game. Otherwise, I've gone to every playoff game that's not in Minnesota. Other ones I've not. I've never even been to Indiana, I don't think. I've never gone to a game there. I've only been to Chicago for playoffs. So otherwise, not many. Mostly just because on the side I teach dance and a lot of the weekends line up when I have dance competitions. So otherwise it probably would be 100%. If I ever retire from teaching dance, I'll probably go to 100% of the away games, but for sure just Madison. And I'll always playoffs. I'll always go to any playoff game no matter what.
So before the games, like, do you have any like pre-game rituals? Like what you do to like help the Winchell win? Any like hype things you do?
I do nothing. Brandon wants to hear nothing. Like Brandon's pregame ritual himself is like needs to be in his own head. So honestly, like myself, my friend Trish, who she comes to every single game, we go to every single game together. Her and I, the best way to support them pregame, I think nothing. We're just silent fans until it starts going, and hopefully they're doing well. But we like to just lay back. We're not huge during the game. Her and I were loud, but we're not in anyone's face. We want to just kind of stay back. It seemed to work out, so we just stick to that role. Stay out of things.
We can take over with the loud signs and stuff.
Yes, you all have it, so it works out. I'm more of a quiet fan, and it's funny because at games, I used to always sit in the stands. My parents always sit in the stands because you can see the whole thing. I started going to the beer garden the past like year or two. I hate being in the beer garden because I can't see a thing. If you're not on the fence, it's fun atmosphere, but I find myself talking to my friends the entire time, and I'm like, I missed this entire game. So it has been funny. It's nice that you're in the stands, you're loud from the stands, because it's a totally different experience from the beer garden as well. So
How about this? We will save you a spot next home game. We'll give
perfect.
you a sign and everything. You can
I'm
come
in.
hang out with us on the fence for a little bit.
I'm in.
Awesome.
Okay, I'm kind of curious at like the origin of like your introduction to Ultimate. So I guess like a kind of a multi-part question. So have you ever like played disc sports of any kind? We'll just start with that. Have you played Ultimate or like disc golf or anything?
No, Brandon and I we started dating in high school sweetheart, senior year. He started the team at our high school. Before that, I knew nothing about it. Then he's played throughout college, and ever since, I was a dancer growing up. I never did any sort of sport that required any sort of disc ball, anything. And so not into that side of things. Nope, never do. I'll throw around with him sometimes. He said I have decent throws for someone that doesn't play sports. So I take that proudly, but nope, never played myself.
Interesting. Okay, so then my next question is like, how do you see the sport? Because like I think from a lot of people from the outside perspective, when you hear professional ultimate frisbee, like that sounds like a really funny joke, right? Like,
Exactly.
oh yeah, I've played frisbee, in my backyard. Like,
Yeah.
how do you see frisbee? How did you see it back then when he started the team? And like, did you ever feel like, okay, this is getting a little ridiculous? Or were you always like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. Let's go for it. Like how has that evolved?
Right. Definitely. I know when we were in high school, I just honestly knew nothing about it. So I didn't even go to I think I went to like one game ever, and it was like, oh, he's just doing it for fun, whatever. College, he went to college for a scholarship for swimming. He swam in college. That was what he was doing. He didn't even play frisbee right away, I don't think. But then 3 days for swimming came and went, and he said, I actually hate swimming now. Was a swimmer his whole life, quit, lost the entire scholarship at this school to play frisbee, and it all just changed from there. Every friend I have left from college basically is from frisbee. And so it changed the whole direction of what was even going on. So back then, it was kind of just like, I don't even know, you're just doing this for fun, whatever. Even the first few years of the wind chill, I went to every game, but there was like no fans. There was maybe a couple hundred fans, but I didn't even tell people he played professional frisbee because they would just laugh at it. Like that's what it was, right? Now, totally different story. People recognize him. He's been recognized at Vikings games. We've been at malls. People recognize him. Like other fans as well. I know recognize other players. Like I would have never guessed that 10 years ago. It's super crazy. And so now I tell everybody that he's a captain of a professional team, because most of the time now people know Ultimate. It's a lot bigger. I think in schools now they learn it a lot more in gym, all of that, but very different than it was many years ago. Now I tell everybody about it, where 10 years ago, 9 years ago, just didn't tell people because I didn't want to deal with them laughing about it, right? It's changed so much.
Interesting. You also go to Winona?
Yes. So I went to Winona State, and he started at St. Mary's, the private school. He transferred once he quit swimming, transferred to Winona State. So
Gotcha.
yes, we didn't actually follow each other to college. It just kind of worked out. I went to dance at Winona State. He went to swim at St. Mary's. Then as soon as he quit swimming, he was like, I don't want to go to private school anymore. So transferred to Winona State. So we both graduated from there.
Cool.
Okay, so if you've known him for a very long time, you probably have some really good embarrassing stories.
Right.
You don't have to put him on blast on the pod. You can tell us that once we're done recording, but give us something that the fans can also know.
Something funny about his man bun, which I think is what makes him so recognizable. He has a big Instagram presence, but I think the man bun is what makes him recognizable in public, at least. He didn't used to have a man bun during COVID. He couldn't go get his hair cut. He used to be super particular, get his hair cut super specific way, couldn't get it cut during COVID. And one day he said, I think I want a man bun now. And I said, no, that would be terrible. And now he has a man bun. So that's what our way that we roast each other is. I was like, no way, you are not growing this out. And he won't get rid of it now. So
Good.
That's my
As he should.
that's how that came to be, which I make fun of him. We make fun of each other for it pretty often. So it was like, I never thought he would do it, but can't get your hair cut for a while. He was going to prove me wrong.
I mean, yeah, at this point, it's just become iconic. Like,
It is. I can't imagine him without it. So
yeah. Okay, I have a question about like, so Brandon has become increasingly involved with Ultimate, a bunch of different like tournaments with club and party tournaments, AUDL. And I know you have gotten to know other players, his teammates and everything. I know like every week you're taking a picture with like strike players who are coming to like you are all friends.
yeah.
I'm curious to know from your perspective, like what is your favorite Ultimate to watch? Like do you go to party tournaments and club? Like what's your favorite of those three? Like party tournaments, club, AUDL, all of the above.
Yeah, this year I would say in the past just like straight years, the closest I've gotten to any of his teammates. His first year, like officially playing Dragon, this past year was like that's how I got to know all the strike women. Just because I got to be a lot closer. I went to nationals with them this year, got to hang out with them on the last day before everyone flew home. So I got super close to a lot of them. And then I went with to layout this year, which is kind of a funny story because so a party tournament, right? On the beach. I went with, and in order to attend, you had to sign up as like there's like a viewer package. But when they signed me up, somehow it ended up saying I was a chaperone. So it was the entire roster of the layout team and then me listed as chaperone. So I just have lived that up ever since. Now I'm like, now I'm your chaperone. I don't play Ultimate, but I'm listed on your roster officially, which I don't even know how that happened. But I don't know. They're all very different. I think wind chill games are my favorite. Just the fan experience is a lot different. There's a lot more. It's fun to see all the different fans. Watching Dragon is fun, but you just don't get as many fans at club tournaments. I think Dragon probably gets the most out of any team. They're very loyal fans, but definitely wind chill. Layout was fun as a party tournament, but the weather was awful. That was the only party tournament I've been to, and it was like 40 degrees and sideways raining in California. So that I sat in the car most of the time and watched. So I didn't have as much of an introduction. So I don't know. They're all good in their own reasons, but for sure, the professional scene right now, my favorite.
Just picture you with like this big bag like of snacks, maybe like a clipboard with everyone's name, just checking off. Is everyone on the bus? Is everyone in their hotel now?
Basically, that's what I did. That's basically
hilarious.
I went shopping the first day for all of them. I was like, hey, I'm gonna come watch anyways. I mean, I definitely am, I think, the longest running spouse. We've been together for 14 years now. And so
Wow.
people know me, whether they didn't meet me until this year, but they at least know me from his Instagram. I hear that a lot. People come up to me at wind chill games. I don't know who they are. Oh, you're Brandon Mattis's wife. I know you from Instagram. Like, all right, cool. So it definitely helps that I have some sort of name for myself just because of him.
Yeah.
It helps integrate me more into the Ultimate scene if I don't play. I like to go watch.
How do you feel about that? Just like being recognized, like not necessarily famous. I don't know if you can call it famous, but is that good, bad, and different?
It's kind of fun. I tell Brandon all the time that he's like a G-list celebrity now. Like underneath, I say like there's like Dave Ryan, who's probably like a D-list celebrity in the Twin Cities, and Brandon's like a couple steps below that, right? He always laughs at me for saying that, but I'm like, I'm one step underneath you now because this probably last year and this year are the most I've ever gotten recognized. Random people know my first name, and I always feel terrible because I was like, I have no idea who you are, but then I make the connections pretty quickly. But I don't know. It's kind of a fun. I would have never guessed that 10 years ago when he started all of this. Like, no way. Wouldn't. I mean, when he started the wind chill in high school, college, those were just fun teams. He played for more fun teams, had more of a fun time, less serious. But I don't know. It's definitely a unique side, which I don't think a lot of people get to experience.
I don't know if you can say that he's more famous than you now, because like you've been on the Windshield Talk podcast now, and he hasn't. So like,
I know.
Yeah, I think that's putting him at least to the same level, if not higher.
Right. I know. We did talk about that today. I was like, you are welcome to be on. I think they would love to have you, but he's very much, I don't know, very much an introvert until he's not, but it'd be a lot for him to get on it. I'm more extroverted than him for sure.
Totally valid. And one thing that we were talking about is that this is a really unique perspective to like share with other people because you've been, like you said, you're the longest running spouse of the team.
Mhm.
So going into say like the league is more serious over the next 10, 15 years, do you have any insight into like what Brandon Mattis's plan is? Like, does he plan to stay in the league for a while or is he looking to retire soon?
Long running question that him and I talk about not super seriously. I mean, he's 31, which is getting older in the ultimate scene. Obviously, there's older players. Long term, I mean, he wants to get into masters, all of that. He for sure will not retire until they win a championship for Dragon and Windchill. Like, I don't see him retiring before he gets a championship with either team. I think if either of those happen this year, which hopefully they will, I still don't. He would stick around for a while. There's really no plans in sight currently. He loves Ultimate. That's what it works. It works for us. I love watching, so
That's what we love about him.
anytime soon.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
Yeah. So earlier you were talking about like the fans having, there were usually maybe a couple hundred in the early years of the wind chill. So what do you think like the league, but specifically the wind chill, is going to be like in the next 5 or 10 years? Because you've already watched that first 10 years of growth of the team. Do you think it's grown faster now or slower or?
For sure faster. I think since probably like 2018, 2019, I think it took a big spin. I think in the next 5 years, we totally outgrow Seafoam. I was talking to him about it last night with his coworkers who had never been to a game, hear him talk about it all the time, but they've never experienced it in person. And it's like last night was a lot of people. Like it filled up way more than I expected for a potentially rain out. Like way more people. I think it maybe set a record. It could have. I think in 5 years for sure, they're going to need a new venue. They're not going to fit within the next couple of years. If they consistently get this many people, it helps they get so much media coverage now. And Brandon and Feldman and all of them work super hard to get on the news station. That's how you get new fans, right? Partially just being on the news, seeing people seeing you there. It's going to keep growing for sure. I mean, it's grown so much since it started, even I've been to a couple different championship weekends with him just as fans, right? We go to watch just for fun. And even those have grown like substantially. Like last year's at Madison was the biggest it's ever been. So much fun. There's so much extra things to do. So I don't see the league slowing down anytime soon. I think it's just going to get a lot bigger and a lot bigger as it goes.
Yeah, it is cool to see them like getting on local news all the time. Do you think like, okay, because I personally don't love the way they talk about the wind chill. I know it's necessary because they're still trying to introduce people to it. Do you think that does any harm, or like illegitimizing them? Is that a word? Like, or like, should we be talking about them like they are already a part of the sports scene, or do you think that introductory segment is still very necessary?
I think it's still very necessary, just introducing them. I know, yes, definitely is very like basic, and sometimes you're like, we could talk a little bit more about this, but I think getting these news stations at least on board, and I think once they're kind of on board, then they're going to start talking about it in a different level, different light. So I think it's still pretty necessary now. I mean, I even think about like my work. I work at a small company. Most of them have never been to an ultimate game. This year, we're going to pay for them to come out to an ultimate game. And they're like, is it disc golf? You throw into the basket? I'm like, no. So I think we still need it at that level just for now until it's more widely known, which it's significantly more than it has been in years past, but I think we still need it for now.
Right. And that's kind of actually why we started this, is so we could, for people who wanted that next step, we can bypass that introduction and dive right into it and then kind of leave that introductory stuff to other outlets, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. It's really cool that you started it because there's maybe some other things similar to it, but nothing at this level, especially for the Minnesota sports. So it's cool to just get it out in the public more.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm curious to know so we all know like how much Brandon works in the like during the season. He's always on his Instagram, like he's always in the gym.
Yeah.
What are what's your life like in the regular season versus the off season? Like I know he's kind of in club, but
Right.
is there ever really a downtime or how is it different in the off season?
The 2 weeks following club nationals every year, 2 weeks only, 14 days are his only off season. He will not pick up a disc. He will not work out. We'll do fun, like we always do fun things, but like he won't care about what he eats, what he drinks, like none of that matters for 14 days only, immediately following club nationals. So like early November, late October. Otherwise, full swing rest of the year. Works out at least 5 days a week, usually more. When we're in season, wind chill season, and then like getting closer to the end of club season, when it's more getting towards nationals, he's very specific about what he eats. He has very specific rules about like caffeine intake, alcoholic beverages. Very, very, very specific once it gets to this time of year. So like right now we're in the full swing. So the places we go eat. If I want to go eat somewhere that he wouldn't normally eat during this season of the year, he looks at the menu to make sure it's something that he can eat that's healthier, that will get him game ready. Like always in, doesn't take any time off during right now. And then like once it gets to like October, he's fully in. So there's really not an off season much. I mean, the winter definitely less so, but that's when he's actually probably working out even harder maybe because he's on his own training, getting ready for it. So really no off season, but he does, yes. We tell people if you want to have the full Brandon experience, 2 weeks after club nationals, that's the full Brandon, and then it's right back in.
What I'm hearing is if we ever want to get Brandon on the pod, is to do it then.
Do that. Yep. No, he takes it super, super seriously, but he always wants to also have a good time. So it's never like it doesn't impede any of the things we want to do, as a married couple with our friends, whatever. But like what I tell people right now, we're in a bags league at Pocket Square, the distillery that sponsors the wind chill. We joined the spring bags league. He won't drink alcoholic beverages 48 hours before a game. Never has. He will not break the rule. He has literally never broken that rule on himself. He tries to tell all of his teammates, so he definitely tries to get everyone on board with that. He's very serious about it. So we're playing this bags league at a distillery where they serve alcohol, and he's completely sober, and we play our bags games, and then every Thursday we have to get home because he has film with the wind chill guys. So even like that, it's like we do our fun little things, but Frisbee's always there, which it works because I also teach dance, and so my biggest season's in the spring, early summer. Same with him for wind chill. So we don't see each other a lot, but we're both doing our things in evenings, weekends. So it works out for us. I think if I didn't have an outside thing like that, if I just worked a full-time job during the day and had nothing else, I don't know if it would work out, but it works out because we have similar schedules in the spring, roughly.
That's awesome. It's kind of perfect. You love to hear it, sort of things.
Yep.
So I'm curious about how you view the wind chill team as a whole. A little bit less Brandon centric conversation, but just like as a person who's watched the wind chill like through all their seasons, how do you think this team stacks up against the rest?
Yeah, I know going into this season, I think there was a little bit of nerves. A couple people were leaving. We weren't sure who exactly was coming back right before tryouts. I think it was a little nerve-wracking because last year, like the last 2 years, we've been so close to championship weekend, right? Like 2 heartbreakers in a row. Like, shoot, are we going to have a strong enough team that can make it this year? And seeing them play the first few games changed that around pretty quickly. And it was like, nope, I think we could do it. I think we could easily do it. They've been a typical Minnesota sports team the past 2 years at playoffs. He hates when I say that, but I'm like, you follow Minnesota sports. You've done it the past 2 years. Sadly, we don't want to follow that. But no, I think this is going to be the year. I really do have strong hopes that we will be there. They'll be there this year. I think they have a strong team. A lot of younger guys that I don't even know, never met them, but it's going to work out.
The kind of talk that I love to hear. I feel so inspired. I think you should give the pregame talks now.
I should,
Get
right?
get Feldman out there. Let's get them. Let's get them the chaperone
Right.
back.
Give
She
me
can give the
chaperone.
pregames. That's
Right.
awesome.
And it's like I mean my personality, I'm very blunt, and so like if Brandon has a bad game or his teammates that I'm super close with, if they have a bad game, like I'm not afraid to be like, what was that? Like what did you do? But I definitely am like actually hopeful that I think this will be it. I think they can do it. They've got a great group of guys. It's going to be a good season.
Heck
Yeah.
yeah.
Heck
we
yeah.
are clipping that. That was beautiful.
Okay, I'm actually curious to hear about like I don't know why, like Ben Feldman, like because he was a player and a teammate of Ben or of Brandon,
Yep.
and now he's the coach. How has that like evolved? I guess I don't even know the question I'm trying to ask, but like I think it's kind of interesting when a player becomes a coach and the one of their teammates is still on the team.
Right. It's definitely, I've known Ben Feldman for a long time. He is a character. We all love Ben Feldman, right? Yeah, I remember the year that Ben and Surly were talking about, owning the team because they had started long before Feldman, right? I mean, Feldman had played, but different ownership. We didn't know if the league was going to survive. Like, was the league going to survive? Was the team going to survive? We got past that. Ben Feldman came in as a GM, part owner. Surly came in. That kind of flipped everything. Brandon's been with it from the beginning. Brandon's worked for the team in different capacities. I mean, Brandon has done a lot of their social media in the past. He works in marketing, so he just has a good eye for all of those things. It has been interesting seeing him take on a bunch of different roles. I mean, I do think he's a good fit at it and could be polarizing, but knowing him on a personal level, friend level, but also seeing him as a player, I don't know. Good dude. Definitely, yeah. Interesting that it's been multiple roles, but especially seeing him as Brandon's like boss for a little bit when Brandon was doing all the social media. There's a different social media person this year, but Brandon still helps out. But I don't know, it's interesting. And on the insurance side, like Ben's our insurance guy. We like see lots of different aspects of him and seeing him have kids, but still thriving through that has been cool.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. I don't know. I think we've kind of gone through our list of questions. Do you have anything else you want to like talk about, or any questions, or?
The only thing I was thinking back to like the first year of the team, the first games that they had were in St. Paul, and I remember back at that point for 1 year, I think it was only 1 year. They actually had a dance team, a wind chill dance team. I don't know if you knew this. I had nothing to do with it. We were in college, so I had nothing to do with it. But yeah, they literally, I don't even know how it came to be, but they at halftime and on the like basically had cheerleaders that would cheer on the side. So like that's kind of crazy to me. I like forget about that a lot. They also used to have a hot tub that was on a pickup truck bed where the VIP like experience was you sat in the hot tub on this like pickup truck during it. I think that was maybe the first year, one of the first couple of years. So it's kind of, I don't know. It's just kind of crazy how things change, but still cool things. But it's like
Interesting.
feels like forever ago that there was a dance team. I didn't know anybody on it, but it was fun to watch them, and it's come so far, but it still has always been a big deal. Like they've always put a lot into the fan experience, even if they were only getting spouses and like parents and friends at that time. Like that was only, nobody knew what it was, but they pushed through all of it, and here they are now. They get hundreds of fans at each game. I think last night maybe could have been a record, if just from my opinion, looking out into the stands. If not, I don't know if the numbers were, but we want to see that every time now, right? Seeing how busy it was yesterday it's super fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And there were a lot of Radicals fans too, which like it's kind of cool because again, it's growing the sport and kind of bringing that competition among fans too a little bit. It made us cheer louder, and yeah, that's cool.
So it's been fun.
Yeah.
They were the dance team. Yeah. I like forgot. I was trying to think back to like what I remember about the earliest years. And I remember a couple of the players. I mean, two of our best friends both also played on Winchell. They don't anymore. But it's like a couple of our best friends have played on the team that we were friends with Brandon knows them from Winchell, and they're still our best friends even years after they stopped playing. So it's most of his like really good friends are, and my really good friends are because of Ultimate. Like we would have never had them as friends without this. So it's been a good ride, and it's not stopping anytime soon. So
Absolutely, we know that. Well, Keely, it's been great having you on. Really, really appreciate your insight. This has been super interesting to hear just a different perspective.
yeah, it's been fun. Thanks for having me. We'll have to get Brandon on. We'll see.
We'll get him at
We'll
some
get him.
point.
Right. And calling him Brandon. No one calls him Brandon. They think it's weird. They call him Mattis. And so even just saying Brandon, I call him Brandon, but I'm like the only one, right? So people will hear me say Brandon, they're like, who are you talking about? Like Mattis, it's Mattis.
I'm not gonna lie, this whole podcast, it's felt weird calling him Brandon.
I bet.
It's either Mattis or Brandon Mattis. Like
right. No,
yeah.
I feel that.
It's felt weird to me. But well, we want to definitely shout out thank you to all our fans who have been listening and watching. We want to give a special thanks to the R1P1 network because this episode is presented by them, who have been doing great work getting them involved too with growing the ultimate sport. They're working in the sports agency world, doing all of our graphics and social media posts. And the Winchell are off. Well, they're away at a couple away games for the next couple of weeks, but they'll be back on July 9th. And again, after the crowd last night with a lot of Radicals fans making noise, we want to show up big. That's an Indianapolis Alley Cats game, so that game's gonna be big. Come out, support the team. Come introduce yourself to Keely. Now you know her face; she won't know you. And yeah, let's get loud in the stands. And don't forget to stay chilly.